So here we are, Eric and Nancy, DIY Rebels, about to do a new project today. It is July 2020, quarantine, and we've been just doing a lot of house projects. So here is our project today. It's a cedar chest, a hope chest, and what we're gonna be doing is taking the topper off. We've replaced this topper twice in the last 30 years. And now we are going to give it a nice chalk paint and antique look. And here we have our clock that we bought when we first got married. And we just feel like it's a little dated. It's a curio cabinet and clock. And so we are going to do the same thing. We're going to give it a nice chalk paint look, a distressed look. What I start with is taking the topper off of the cedar chest, and we're gonna see what we have underneath, okay? All we're gonna do is pull this up. It's been tacked down with nails, so it's super easy to remove. Sometimes we have like holes or some ding marks that we have to repair before we start painting. For example, at the topper of this, I noticed that some of the wood has chipped off all along the back edge. We also found, obviously there's gonna be little holes because we removed the tacks and the topper. So we need to wood fill this. So I'm gonna show you what we're gonna do for that. So we're gonna just put a large amount. You then just scrape into your project. You wanna use an extra amount. You don't wanna just be conservative with this part of the project because you want it to have a nice dent-free, hole-free finish. So you really want to kind of like bring the wood filler above the project. So now what we are doing is sanding it very lightly just so the paint adheres. As you can see, the topper is all patched and we're gonna let that dry and for about 2 to 6 hours, and we're going to sand that down so it's ready for our painting. Okay, so as you can see, I have picked out this, almost like this pale, toasted teal color. It's, our front room is a very coastal look, and so I figured this would be a nice addition to antique later on. So we're gonna see what it looks like on the product. So I do paint with my toes because of my AMC. Here we go, there's no turning back. Yep, I think I'm gonna love that. So here we are removing the topper so that we can get in there a little better. So we are now working on the clock. Eric has removed all of the glass. We're not quite sure if we're gonna put the glass back in. I kind of like it without the glass. So we are trying to remove the clock right now. Now the wood filler has dried. It's been several hours, and so now I'm going to sand it so we make it flush with the topper. So when we paint it, you don't see the spots on it. So here we go. Again, just sand it really light. And I like to just, see, you can't even tell. It's just nice and smooth. Okay, I am so excited for the next part of this. Now that we have all the paint on the base of the cedar chest, now we get to do the artistic side of this. And we're going to distress it, we're going to antique it, and then we're going to wax it to give it a nice finish. We want to keep the old world look to it. So we want to antique the grooves by putting a dark wax in between it while waxing the rest of it. We are also going to distress it a little bit. I'm not going to do a lot of distressing today because I want to keep it as antiqued as possible. All right, so watch how we do this. We're going to start with a light sanding. Again, I do this with my feet because I have AMC. So just kind of lightly sand it. Some of the cedar is coming through. I don't want a lot of that to come through because again, I want to do light distressing and more antiquing. And I'm using just a very light sandpaper, and you just kind of play around with it. You know, I don't do a lot. I just kind of just scrape off just some of the paint. We want it to look like it was weathered by the ocean. Okay, that's about all I want to do as far as the distressing. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to wax with a fine brush into the grooves. So what we're going to do, you don't want a lot of wax. So I'm just going to kind of go like this. So this is what gives the piece of furniture, when you chalk paint, dimension, texture. Now what you're gonna do, once it's on, you're gonna take a cotton cloth and you're just gonna rub it. So now we are antiquing the rest of the cedar chest. You must make sure you go all the way across. Make sure your strokes are nice and even. So the next part of this project, after you have put the wax on, you now buff it out. Notice how the antiquing stays on there. And you just give it kind of a nice finish. So now we've moved on to the clock. We are painting this in a complementary color for something that complements the Hope Chest, and it is called Ice Water. And again, it is another chalk paint. Clearly we're going to need to put on 2 coats, but you can see kind of the blues coming through. It's very white, but there are some blues coming through. So I wanted to show the difference, like the solid color. So the top part is the chalk paint without the wax, and then as you can see, this has all been waxed. Taping off the face of the clock. It hangs over a little bit, so I'll have to get a razor blade to it, that brassy look, so I'll give it a white look, so we're going to tape it. I have decided to paint the edge of this clock in a white chalk paint. So it gives it that, again, old, distressed look. Shabby chic is like some people call it. We are ready to remove the tape. There's a mirror on the inside. So we tape that off. Nice clean lines. That's what we wanted, and that's what we got. So here's our finished clock. We have buffed it out. We did a chalk paint that was kind of like an ice water color, and then we antiqued it. We antiqued any of the metal. We removed the glass doors because we thought it would look better without them. And we added all of our shells that we've collected on vacation. So we're really happy with how it turned out. And here's the cedar chest. We did the same thing. We painted it with like a powdery kind of chalk paint that's kind of on the teal side. And then we antiqued it. We went into some of the more ornate pieces. We antiqued those a little bit more heavily, and then we waxed it. As you can see, we also left the lock on, which is the original lock from 100 years ago, and it actually matches beautifully on this wonderful piece of furniture.